Hello everyone, and welcome back to a backyard garden. Today I want to make this video to share some of the reasons why I like to leave my potted container plants in contact with the soil, and in general I just like to leave them in my garden. So here the first reason is that when you have a potted plant, in the garden, you leave them in the soil. You're not leaving them on a cement somewhere. It's very simple. It's really common sense. When you water this, all the drainage water will run off, right? So if you leave them on the side somewhere here, then the water is just wasted. So instead, when you water this container and you have it here, then you're actually doing two things. You're watering the pot, and then the runoff will actually also water the rest of the plant as well. And it will, moisture the soil as well. So it serves to do a purpose. And besides the runoff from the pot, those runoff are really high in nutrients, because after all, whatever you have in this container, whether it's manure, compost, all that water, it's stripping away, the runoff is stripping away a lot of nutrients. So sometimes you don't want to overwater it, but you definitely, when you water it, if you see runoff or the water's coming out, then obviously you stop watering, because you know that it's enough water. All right, so that's the first reason. The second reason is that having the potted here, it's just to really cover up the soil in a sense. Okay, so now you cannot really do it 100%, because obviously there's some bears, soil here exposed to the sunlight. So, but again, even when I do have bare soil here, I like to have a little bit of mulch. This mulch is quite refined now, so help cover up the soil. It keep the soils nice and moist, and look, see that? You can tell that this spot here is much darker because it's being covered up, and so it's much cooler, and it's covering up the soil. So the wind and the sunlight doesn't destroy the soil. So the wind, if you don't cover up the soil, the wind it'll pick up the soil and it'll erode the soil. And when the sunlight hit the soil, ultraviolet radiations, it will kill a lot of bacteria and just make your soil really dry. And as you can see there, those are pretty much sand soil, pretty dry. So that's the second reason. And the third reason, I think probably the most important reason, is that I like to leave the container on in contact with the soil. It's really to invite the worms to migrate into the container. Since I'm growing all this organically, the worms really an important part, play a very important part of help to fertilize the soil. So when you leave this container here long enough, there will be insects and other creature will be hiding underneath this container here, because it's nice and cool, it's safe for them, and they will do that. Especially the worms, the earthworm and the compost worm, they would love to be right beneath the container here. Okay, right there, you can see them right there. They're so high. As soon as you pick them up, they will just boom, disappear. They will hide. And eventually they will make their way up. The worm will make its way up into this container. Once they're in the container, they'll help to aerate create drainage, and it'll help the roots of the plant, aerate the roots of the plant. And it also help to fertilize the plant while the plant is in the pot, because the worm will eat up some of the organic material, and then it'll produce the worm casting, which is a nice natural fertilizer for the plant. Okay, and I think that's probably the most important reason why I always like to leave all my potted plant in the soil at least for some time. Eventually, you have to, transfer them out if you have to grow them into the ground or to a bigger container. But if if the worms are already in here and if you transfer them back into the ground, then really you're completing this complete cycle, right? You're putting the worm back into the ground and the soil with the worm casting back into the ground. So therefore, you really complete the entire cycle with the container. Okay, and you can see here, I have a lot of container this season. Well, I've been growing a lot of stuff too, including house plant. You can see here, and those I think related to some kind of orchid, and they like the cool spot, so I leave them right on the base of the tree. And when I water them, the tree also get the water, and all the animals, all the worms will eventually migrate up into this container. So here on this side, I also have the seedling. I also like to leave them in a container like this. And when I water this, again, the runoff will also go into this big pot here and also water my loquat tree. Okay, you can see that. All right, so here on this side, oh, by the way, my opal finally come up because of nice, beautiful weather, nice and warm weather. Same thing here, I like to leave them here. All right, and same thing over there. All right, so everywhere you see my container, always make contact with the soil. I do have some container that's on the shelf because I don't have enough space, and even in that case, the worms usually already inhabit, already live in that container, and they're probably in there already. And when I dump out the content, sure enough, there's plenty of worms in there already. Not every container, but some of the container I grow will actually have the worms in there already. So here are some of, I guess this is a mosquito plant and some of my beautiful jasmine yellow flowers here. So again, once they go big, then I put them on the shelf because I don't have room on the ground, so I do that. Okay, and even some nasturtiums here. This is a pear tree here, and again, I leave them, in a container with that. And when you water this, you water the whole thing. So all the runoff will be also watering the tree. All right. Okay, I hope you get something out of this discussions, and if you like, please post your comments for me so we can just discuss this issue. I think it's pretty simple and pretty common sense, but I see a lot of people just leave all the container on the cement floor somewhere. Of course, it's nice. They like to organize it. I get it. Sometimes you don't have space in your garden. Those are valid reasons, I get it. But if you do have some space in the soil, somewhere in the dirt, I would rather leave the container on the soil for the time being, at least for some time, until you build up, until you have the worm migrate into the container. Then you can move them if you like to. Okay, so here are some of my soil I've been working on, and there are lots of worms in here because sometimes I dump the container content in here and some of the soil here, and actually there's a lot of worms in here as well. They are hiding now when I dig them up, and they're hiding underneath there. See that? Look at this worm here. This huge, look at this worms here. You can see that. All right. So sometimes I do recycle a lot of my soil. It's usually not recommended sometimes because the soil is depleted nutrients, but again, my soil is organic, and I recycle them, and I add more fertilizer, I add more worm casting, and I add manure and fish fertilizer to it, and then I usually leave it here for some time before I use it. I mainly use this for potted plant. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Please continue to subscribe to our videos, and please post a comment if you like. We'll see you back again in the garden. Bye for now.